The budget hearing of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this budget hearing of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers, indicating that this budget hearing would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 p.m. Monday, February 9th, 2015. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. McCarthy, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase?
Here.
Councilwoman Francois?
Here.
Mayor Kelly?
Here.
Councilman Kramer?
Here.
Councilman Prasad? Councilman Regan? Councilwoman Sherman?
Here.
Councilman Vasanella?
Here.
Councilman Wright?
Here.
Is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion is carried. The meeting is open for the public discussion on any item of interest which does not have a public hearing of its own. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand, and when recognized, give your name and address.
I think there's one. Seeing no one from the public come forward, Mayor, I motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
I have a quick question.
Councilman Wright? Yes?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you have section C? Section C? Oh. That's the section I was missing.
I believe you're all missing Section C. There's several that you're going to get now that we just got from Mr. Hodgelick this morning.
You mean they're hot off the press?
Hot off the press.
Excellent. Okay, I guess we will go with letter A, Anne Marie McCarthy, the town
Actually,
clerk.
there's one step before that, Mr. Mayor, and it's not on the agenda. And I actually have to give you my budget message. So I will go over to the lectern and give it to you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kathy Moody is going to hand out, just so you can follow along, the budget message for the calendar year 2015. Please bear with me. I will try to get through this and not have my voice crack too much here. Okay. Calendar year budget caps. As set forth by the Division of Local Government Services, the allowable percentage tax levy increase, exclusive of any waivers or exceptions, is 2% for calendar year 2015 over the calendar year 2014 tax levy. Additionally, the appropriation or spending cap is also at 2%, with the opportunity by the mayor and council to increase the appropriation cap by ordinance to 3.5%. The proposed appropriations or spending are within the 2% cap. The calendar year 2015 budget continues the trend of improved efficiency and reduced spending, while also working towards managing the structural imbalance issue. As the accompanying budget summary schedule indicates, The original proposed calendar year 2015 municipal budget, including the library increase of nearly $75,000, showed no increase over calendar year 2014 budget. However, discussions at Financial Oversight resulted in a proposal to provide a community policing unit of 4 police officers for the Hamilton Street Special Improvement District. Therefore, the only increase in proposed appropriations equals the total salaries for those officers of $125,996, an increase of 0.22% over calendar year 2014. The calendar year 2015 departmental OE budgets, as submitted by the department heads, reflect an overall decrease of nearly $8,500 compared to the calendar year 2014 budget. A comparison of calendar year 13, 14, and 15 departmental OE budgets, along with the calendar year 13 and 14 expenditures, is included within this package for your review. The utilities budget has decreased by $128,000, or 4.27%. Statutory expenses and group health insurance expenses, which are a 7% increase in calendar year 15, which have been increasing greatly over the past few years, are budgeted at a decrease due to year 4 of employee contributions towards their health benefits under the Chapter 78 law, which have now reached the maximum percentage. While the calendar year 2015 budget shows an increase in debt service of $536,383, it shows a decrease of $524,100 towards cash capital, which had been budgeted in 2014. Operating revenues for calendar year 2015 are budgeted at $371,066 less than calendar year 2014, as we are not anticipating to benefit from one-time only revenue. However, the amount of fund balance, or surplus, budgeted to be utilized towards closing the revenue appropriations gap has been reduced by approximately $940,000 in calendar year 2015. This trend continues to progress in addressing the township's structural imbalance budget issue. Final revenue component of the calendar year 2014 budget is the amount to be raised by taxation. The amount to be raised by current year taxes is a function of balancing the budget while at the same time being limited by the tax levy cap calculation. The amount to be raised in current taxes in the proposed calendar year 2015 budget without library is set forth as $34,694,000 rounded. This amount is $1,334,000 over the calendar year 2014 budget, or 4%. Also, as presented in the attached summary, the required appropriation and corresponding tax for the municipal library has increased by approximately $75,000. In combining the municipal and library tax amounts, the total tax levy increase is 3.88% over calendar year 2014. Franklin Township's assessed valuations for 2015 have been set at $9,060 million plus. This represents an increase of $109,752,000 of the 2014 value of $8.9 billion, or 1.23%. An increase in assessed values has a positive impact on the applicable tax rates. Taking the increase in ratables at last year's municipal tax rate, this increase in values amounts to an increase of $409,377.25 in taxation. As a result, in comparing tax rates using the budget as it stands at this point, although the dollar amount of the local amount to be raised by taxation is increased by 4%, the impact upon the tax rate would be 2.74%. And that's my report for 2015.
We are up to the departmental budget presentations. The Township Clerk, Anne Marie McCarthy.
Okay. I don't know, I guess we'll start with mine, the clerk budget. My budget increased about $2,000 over last year, and mostly that has to do with, this is the year that we ordered the proclamation folders. That cost about $800, and there's an increase in schooling and meetings. Schooling for Siba, she's going to finish her clerk's classes this year and take the state exam at the end of the year. So if there's any questions regarding the clerk budget?
Are there any questions from the council? Dr. Chase?
Now, I note there's a decrease in the amount for legal advertising. And one aspect there I wondered about, I noticed something recently about advertising in the Princeton Packet. And do we really need to advertise in the Princeton Packet? I don't think it has much circulation in the township.
The only ads that go in there are when we amend the meeting schedule, because we do our meeting schedule notices in 3 papers. When I do the ordinance and stuff, that's all done in the Courier News. It's only done in the one. There's a decrease in there because prior to last year, the tax sale was about $8,000 to advertise the tax sale. But now that we do that electronically, it's down to I think it was 2,000. I think, so we went down a few thousand in that, so that's why that line item decreased.
Good.
So just in summary, you're saying that your overall budget increased $2,059?
Yes.
And the bulk of that was for training expenses?
The bulk of it is for schooling, and training. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next one is the council budget. And that went up a little over $1,000, and mostly that has to do with association dues and also conferences, meetings, and any education that any council member wants to take.
Council healthcare costs are not reflected in this.
No, it's not.
Healthcare costs are an aggregate cost under insurance.
And there hasn't been an increase in your salaries in 6, 7 years? Okay, and the
Now,
last one,
Were
okay.
you expecting us to spend more money at the League of Municipalities? Because I know the press has inquired about that in the past.
Just a little, and I put in, and just in case there, like last year, it was low because not everybody went. I can't gauge
Yeah.
this now if all 9 of you were to go, or maybe only 5. So I based it on all 9 of you going.
Like many things in the budget, we aim a little high because we'd rather not run over.
Correct.
We can't run over.
No.
The laws of the state of New Jersey tell us that.
And my last budget is the election budget, and that is about 5,000 more, and that's because this year we have local elections, so our sample ballot will cost more in printing that we get from the county because we have more people listed on the sample ballot. And that's always a guess, too, because I never know how much that's going to come in until June. And that's,
Although it would appear that you made a really good guess last year.
yeah, I think I was like,
You missed it by $9.90.
I missed it by $9. I'm getting better at it.
Are there any other questions? Okay, then we'll move on to B, Human Resources. Raven Williams.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you? Okay.
Is tab G in your books.
We're starting with mine. Make sure everyone's there. Okay, overall for calendar year 15, the human resource budget remained flat. It did not increase at all. We were able to allocate money to the appropriate line items and to actually offset the costs. The only increase that we saw this year was for the management training program that we implemented, which is a 4-month program that we have for coaching our managers to help foster teamwork, team building, help conflict resolution, and things like that within each department. So that cost was offset by, again, us being able to properly allocate other expenses. We actually saw a decrease in the request for the medical expenses, so the pre-employment physicals, drug screens, random testing, things like that, that decreased. Yes, and for line item 029, we were actually able to decrease that by a total of 7,000, and that decrease was due to us being able to properly, again, align where those charges should be. It was specifically for other insurance compliance and administration fees. So instead of charging that to the HR budget, we charged that to the health insurance budget.
Why the health insurance budget?
Because it comes with the administration of some of our insurance plans and policies that fall in place with that.
It's for the administrative fees and for the flexible spending accounts that
Oh,
are
okay.
administered under the insurance.
FSAs, okay.
Yep, FSA, exactly.
So one question, the 6,000 in the 2015 budget for the professional consultant specialized, was that what you were referring to as the coaching for the department heads?
It's under education and training. And you see the education and training shows a difference in the proposed budget of $8,000 on the far right column. That's the management training program that's currently underway.
And how much is that going to cost?
That's it,
That's
right there.
13,000?
No, 8,000.
8,000.
That's the increase.
Okay.
Okay. So that's all that we have for the human resource budget. Now, I don't know what.
Just a quick question on the FSAs, though.
Yes.
Normally, the vendor or the broker tends to pick up that cost rather than pass it on to the township.
No,
we've always paid that.
We've always funded that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe something you want to look into. I mean, the vendor may want to fund that for you.
Which vendor?
Whoever is the agent.
BJA.
BGIA.
No, whoever.
Yes, BGIA.
FSA?
The flexible spending accounts, yes.
Flexible spending account would, the vendor wouldn't pick up the cost for the administration. So the only other place where that could come from would be through the insurance broker.
Right.
Okay.
The healthcare insurance is under tab S. In particular, I believe it's S, begins on S5 with the, well, that's workman's comp. I'm sorry, S6, group health insurance.
Again, overall, the group health insurance went down almost 105,000. Again, a big reason for that is because we are in year 4 of the Chapter 78 employee contributions, so now the percentages that they contribute are at the highest amount. Again, you will see under line item 029, there was an increase of 7,000. That's the administration for the FSA that we were just speaking of. We also had to budget the 9,000 for the GASB 45 reporting. That's biannual reporting, so we're up for that again for 2015. Everything else. Line item 102, we were able to actually decrease that by $23,000, and again, that's just reflecting the true employer cost for the disability insurance. Line item 369 for the flexible spending. Again, we were able to reduce that by $4,000, and that's just based on the prior year usage. And I believe that's it, unless you have any questions.
Are there any more questions from the council?
The only thing I'd like to add is on, just so that we're having a full understanding of line 092.
That's what I was.
Line
gonna say,
092 is budgeted as $6.413 million. That does not reflect the cost of our health care benefits to our employees and retirees. The full cost is closer to about $8.7 million. The offset here is attributed to employee contributions. So that's why you see that difference. We don't budget the full amount. We budget the amount that the municipality will ultimately be responsible for, with the employee contributions as are directly applied to the bill. So that's why you see now, and because I had said earlier, our healthcare did go up slightly over 7% this year from 2014. However, because of the combination of the increase with employee contributions, the offset was sufficient to bring it to that number.
Well, this that we have before us shows an increase of $400,000 in what is budgeted.
I'm sorry, repeat that, Councilman?
What we have before,
The sheets you have that you're getting shows the change in that. One of the sheets you're getting to replace it.
well, it's rather difficult then to comment on a budget when we haven't gotten it.
Does he have
It-
it? Go ahead.
So what we're saying here is that $400,000 increase is not an accurate number?
That's correct, it's been lowered. And I apologize. I have my book as the current sheet. She's got to give you the current sheet. The current sheet will reflect on line 092 a decrease of $86,000, not an increase.
But as a measure of overall increase in health insurance rates, I think we've kept them fairly.
Well, this year we saw a 7.6% increase in our health care. That's what this year's health care contract with Horizon, that was the overall increase, was 7.6%, to include dental and prescription and health.
I'm not finding S6 or any S in what was just handed out. Is that what I should be looking for?
S6, correct. Did you?
Are the new sheets?
Yes. But S6 should have been in your original book. If it's not, then they have a replacement, but that's not a replacement page, I'm sorry. I thought you were looking at the total, the grid on B2 that shows a different number.
No, I'm looking at page S6 in the original book.
Yes.
And it shows an increase of $400,000 in medical insurance.
No, it does not, Councilman. I don't know where you see the increase in $400,000.
It does.
Does here.
It does here.
Calendar year 2014.
No, you're looking at the
6,000.
actual number versus the budgeted number. The
budgeted
actual number is
in-
6.8.
No.
No,
The actual
6.9.
number, the budgeted amount in 2014 was $6,500,000.
6,500,000.
$6,500,000. The budgeted amount in the 2015 budget is $6,900,000.
And I'm saying that sheet is incorrect if that's what that says. The number is $6,413,000. If that sheet was updated, then I apologize, and we can get you the updated sheet. And obviously it was. The number is in fact 6.4 million, not 6 point. So it is a decrease of $86,000. And we can get it, and that's what I'm saying. And there's, unfortunately, numbers changed as of the result of the Thursday financial oversight meeting, so sheets changed, and this is one of those sheets that clearly changed after the budget book was put together. And that budget sheet needs to be replaced, so I will have it
Okay,
replaced.
we would just give us
Yes.
that sheet after you told us that we were looking at the wrong page.
And I have a whole pile of S6s here that have the 6.4 million, which is the correct number. I'm not quite sure how that, I can only tell you that that's the incorrect sheet.
So we can get copies of what you
Yes.
have in front of you.
Well, it's really difficult to review the budget if we don't have the correct sheets.
Councilman, I understand your frustration. It's mine right now, too. Like I said, these budget books have to be put together for everyone, and based on the weather and based on the short notice that we had with these meetings, we came down to the wire in putting them together on Friday. A lot of these decisions were made as a result of Thursday night's financial oversight meeting when things changed, and the decisions were made in consultation with Andy Hodgelick, and these budget books got put together on Friday, and certain things that had been already prepared changed. This is one of those things.
so I don't
Well, this
understand.
one apparently changed this afternoon.
No, they didn't change this afternoon, but between Friday and today, there are a lot of sheets that have to either be redone, or with 16 copies being done between the 9 here and the other ones. It takes a while to put them together.
So can you make 8 copies of that sheet
Yes,
and
they're
distribute
here.
it
So-
amongst us, so we don't have to
They're
sit
all right
here?
here. That's what she's doing, is pulling them out right
So
now.
we're not going to keep
So-
going back and forth?
So I don't understand what, that's trash, Councilman. Yeah, that's mine, it's trash. I don't understand what happened in financial oversight that made insurance go down.
Nothing I'm not saying that this sheet in particular. What I'm saying is
Oh, okay,
the
I got
book
it.
changed a number of times over the last 3 days.
Okay.
There's sections, if you look,
That's
there's
fine, that's fine.
40-some sections to
I
this
just
book.
misunderstood you that the insurance.
No,
went
no,
down.
no, no.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying is
That's
decisions
fine.
were made, things had to be changed, salary sheets
I
had to
got
be
it.
changed.
I got it.
So-
So in today's hearing, when we go to each section, if we have new pages, please let us know.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, if Councilman Kramer's done. I understand the situation, so maybe just next year, we can have a little bit more of a buffer, just so it goes.
We would have had a buffer.
I know, with the weather.
Councilman, except for the fact that we canceled meetings, and
Right.
unfortunately, that created this.
And being the time of year,
Short
maybe
notice.
we just, next year, give a little better. I understand,
the-
I understand why.
Well,
Trying to-
and I understand
Trying to
that.
move along,
And
that's all I'm trying.
not as to sound defensive, but understand that things happen as a course of action with closing out 2014's budget, and before you can create a new budget for 2015, you have to have everything done from 2014. And until that's done, we got the revenue report today. That's why you're just getting it now. That's because it's based on information coming out of the previous year. So this is what happens when we miss one because of snow.
Okay.
Well, that was last week's meeting.
And because of that, we missed, and now we are now pushed for time.
Okay, what
If we
else do
could
you
move
have
on.
for human resources?
That's it.
That's it?
Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Okay,
Raven.
Thank you.
I say we
Thank you,
just
Ray.
blame this all on the new mayor.
That always works.
No, it's supposed to be
That
the
was
last-
actually us
it's supposed to be the
defending you.
last mayor.
That's the best we can get.
Okay.
So now you have
Yeah, I
the
got
real,
sixes.
she just passed out the real figure, Councilman Chase, on the top page.
Can I have one?
S6.
Yes.
So are we at community resources now?
We are, which is
Yes.
tab E.
We are
8E.
now moving up to community resources. Diane Leach-Thompson.
Ms. Leach-Thompson, as you're coming up,
Right.
recently, you and I were involved in some correspondence over a particular individual, and I just wanted to compliment you on how quickly and how thoroughly you covered that issue. I was very impressed. I think it's the first time I've ever witnessed directly your work, and I was just very impressed.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Diane is just some additional information over and above. That's what you're being handed now, some additional information over and above the individual sub-sheets for the budget.
This is this right here.
That's it, just some additional explanation if the individual line sheets don't sufficiently explain what the purpose of the expense is.
What tab are we looking at? I'm sorry.
It's AE, tab AE.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My budget really has not changed much. There has not increased. However, it has, you will see a decrease of $5,300. The $5,000 is reflective of the $5,000 that is normally in every year for indigent burials. That was moved to trust, so it's not showing up on the actual budget. And the indigent burials, for those that don't know, those are the residents or that cannot be placed on the welfare roll to bury them. So we need to have something, we've always had a 5,000 cap just in case, which I have not had to use in years, in case we have to bury someone that does not belong under the municipal welfare roll.
And we've been able to move previous year's budgeted amounts into the trust for this purpose, which was something that had not been done previously, so now we no longer need to budget that. There's money there available in the trust should we need it.
What trust is this?
It is a trust specifically for indigent burials. It had not existed previously, and now it does.
Indigent burial?
Correct.
Yes.
Indigent.
You got Carl's attention.
I figured that. I was surprised that I hadn't heard about that from that end of the dais up until now.
Not a lot of
This
money there.
opportunity.
I think it's $250.
Oh, my
I
God.
said, I think it's $250.
For burial.
I'm teasing.
Oh, okay, I'm about to say, huh?
So far, they haven't had to use it. That's what I heard.
Correct.
That's correct.
Correct.
It's been years, apparently, since we've had to.
That's surprising. I
Thankfully.
find that a little surprising.
Because some of the burials that we have done are, they are eligible for municipal welfare.
Oh, okay. So
And
that's-
we always do
That's
the,
why,
at the least cost, and the least cost is usually cremation.
Okay.
So that's why. Do you have any specific questions for me?
How many clients are you moving through a year? Do you know offhand?
Yes, I do. Our client roll has decreased. And that has to do with, we have clients that are sanctioned, that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, so unfortunately, they get sanctioned. We have other clients that start the program and do not want to continue for one reason or another, mostly that it's just not suiting their needs. So we are averaging about maybe 30, 40 clients.
And what program is that? I'm sorry.
That's the municipal welfare.
Oh.
We have been up as high as 100. So right now, we have decreased. It fluctuates. What is that
A- And
It can be a month. That's what I'm saying.
the number fluctuates from month to month based
Right,
on
correct.
eligible clients. I think then just one other thing to add to that, which, sometimes we lose sight of what the purpose of the municipal welfare program as it's administered by the township is, and this is for adults only. We don't administer the welfare program for families, adults with children. This is for adults only, well, those over 18 years of age, with no children.
Question? Okay. If I remember right, last year, we added a part-time worker in
Yes.
your department.
Yes?
I remember being very intrigued with how that could benefit what
That-
seemed to be a lot of work that was needed,
that
some
is-
resources. So could you give
Right.
us just a capsulized,
We've been
Review of
able to do more case management. We have more, the caseworkers have more time to assist clients with housing needs, social security applications, referrals for additional assistance, medical and mental health needs. The also ability to do additional research for community services. And we've actually been able to provide services in-home of critically ill and terminal clients.
and that's
we-
new? That
That's
being able to
new.
critically and terminal
Yes.
ill?
We
That's
had a client
great.
that was on the roll for a little while, and she found out that she was terminally ill. So we cannot close her case because she's still eligible. We just have to now service her in-home. So we do our monthly, as a matter of fact, they went out last week, and they did her monthly interview as well as distributed her monthly grant to her.
Oh. So in your opinion, it was valuable adding that?
Oh, very much so.
But you're
much so.
comfortable that you have all the people power you need?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great, I'm glad it worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just so everybody understands why we were joking around, I'm a funeral director. So that's why we were joking around with that.
Like, she didn't know that.
No,
You-
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
You didn't know?
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
I knew about the coaching part.
I'm sorry?
I knew about the coaching part.
Oh, yeah. The coaching is the main thing. Funeral directing is the sideline.
Okay, any other questions?
I think this is a very nice description that you've laid out of
Oh,
all
thank
your
you.
different services that you provide.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for
Thank
the
you.
explanation.
Thank
you.
Yes. Very good.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So they said in the past, you've done a lot with very little.
Yes,
So, thank you.
thank you.
Yes, she does.
I just have a question, and there's no money going to the single-parent support group?
No, that's a monthly group that meets. They
Oh,
do.
it's just a
Right,
meeting, oh.
right.
It's not, yeah, not financial support.
No.
So they're not,
Even having a meeting would have some type of
they're
budget.
not getting any donuts or nothing like that?
No, if they,
I
usually,
figured
no.
coffee, donuts.
Yeah.
They may bring stuff if we have, when we have meetings. So, and they're single parents, so they self-sufficient.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Keep
Thank
up
you
the
very
good work.
We're up to D, the municipal court. Damaris Santiago.
This is AM, like Mary. AM is the tab.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oops.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, basically, my budget request has decreased about close to $2,000, so it's pretty much staying flat. We had a decrease in line item 026, about 1,080, because we were budgeting that money for a TAC pack computer that we have with old information that we had prior to the new ACS system that was provided by the state. So we have no use for that, because once that machine, once it dies, that's it. They can't repair it, so we thought that we need to budget that at this time. So I didn't request any additional money. We just made some changes around the line items, such as the, well, let's start with line item 023, printing and binding. That pretty much came down to $7,000 from $7,660 from 2014. That's for the printing of the special complaints, receipt, ticket books, municipal court forms, the mailers. Line item 026 basically would be for the digital recording maintenance contract and CDs that we order for the recording. Line item 027, we didn't request for anything this year. That was for the interim of judges. Last year, we had requested.
That was the that money was for visiting judges, basically, when we had a judge's vacancy.
Yes. And line item 028, that's for the various interpreters. And I requested a little extra this year because we came close to, we were over budget. So I wanted to have more than less for next year, for this year, sorry. Line item 033 pretty much stayed the same for books and publications.
035, you might wonder what janitorial supplies there are in the municipal court. That's actually where the municipal judges' robes get paid from.
And we had to order nameplates, and whenever they submit any receipts for like the cleaning of their robes, then we will reimburse. Line item 41 for conference and meetings. That's basically for the association fees, the New Jersey League of Municipality, the monthly meetings, Tri-County Municipal Court Administrator seminars that we are required to attend. we decreased that to $1,000 from $1,500, and we moved $500 to the training and education and training line item, which is 042. And line item 044 for professional association dues stayed the same, it didn't increase. Line item 077 is for the telecommunications. That's basically for the video conference. ISDN lines, yes. And basically, that's it.
The 2,500 is a flat number for the, the connection fee. It's an ISDN line for the video conferencing with the various correctional facilities so that the prisoners don't have to be brought. I see the look on your face, Mr. Mayor. That's why I was just,
No, I was curious because I have an ISDN line at my house, and it's a one-time fee.
no, this is a monthly fee that adds up to that dollar figure annually.
Okay.
It's the internet fee. It's the data fee for the line.
We also, connect to not just the local county corrections, we do other state corrections.
So sometimes there's long distance fees.
yeah.
There's
Okay. I've just never paid a fee once it was in my house.
you don't pay for it.
Monthly.
No.
What I'm saying is you have an ISDN line. You have to pay for data.
Data, yeah.
Well, that's what this is
That's what
for.
data plan- okay.
This is, yeah, exactly.
No problem.
Any questions?
Any other questions?
Okay.
We're only talking about operating expense.
Exactly.
So there's
That's it.
no other questions. Otherwise, we have a lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you. Okay, we're up to E, purchasing, Joyce Miller.
Hey, Bob,
Yes, sir.
I think we should excuse Miss Miller. Her budget is so straightforward, it hurts.
It's tab F.
Thank you.
And I won't disagree with that statement. This budget is one of those pretty straightforward and static ones from year to year, but it's tab F. So you get to it. There we go.
Ron Wright? Thursday, yeah.
First Baptist, I'll be there.
Joyce, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
Just a couple of changes that I think are worth noting. Printing and binding. Finance is going to take over the printing of the receipt books, previously done in purchasing. Maintenance and repair. The next line item, finance is going to take over the cost of the copier that's in their office. There is also a reduction because this year we had 2 leases expire, brought in 2 new machines, big ones for the repro room and construction used by all the departments, and the lease is actually less on those 2 than they were. So you're going to see an increase in dues. I have a couple certifications that are due. That's about it. And then a new line item, $500 for batteries. We're going to give it a shot at ordering batteries in one place, and each of the departments come shop from my office, not shop, you know what I'm saying.
I know that
In bulk
doesn't.
savings.
It doesn't sound like much, but previously, batteries had been ordered just by a department because they need a couple double A's for the clock on the wall or their mouse on their desk. And generally speaking, they would order them from our office supply company, and the cost was what you or I would go into a store and buy batteries. In my previous lifetime, we bought batteries in bulk because there's a lot of batteries for a lot of different pieces of equipment in the police department, and we bought them from a battery supplier in bulk at a discounted rate. And so I said to Joyce, why don't we do that for the municipal side as well? So the typical batteries, the Ds and the Cs and the AA's, that all out, for all of the equipment that's used on the municipal side of government here, not the police side, will now be purchased centrally like we purchase office supplies.
Not the police side, right? Is that what you just?
Police already do it. So they already use that vendor, they already received that same discount, so there was really no reason to include them because there was no additional savings by lumping them in with the municipal side. It's just that rather than buy, like I said, rather than buy 4 AA's at a time, we'll buy 4 dozen at a time, and this will obviously allow us to save some money. And a little bit mounts to something
Put
too.
some control there, too.
Absolutely, and they'll be locked up in a cabinet in Joyce's office. No, you can't take them home. Are there any specific questions about Joyce's operating budget? Like Joyce said, there's a decrease of $4,000. Most of that decrease is attributed to a shift, in all fairness, to other departments' budgets. We'll get to them at some point, but really in this particular case, it's a shift in receipt books and the copy machine that is in the finance department to the finance department's budget, just so that we accurately reflect what each individual department's costs are. And so that's why I had that shift made. And that's it.
Joyce has always been lean and mean.
Always been lean and mean, absolutely. Okay, so if there's no more
Any
questions.
other questions?
Said you wear many hats.
Try to do the best I can.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. We're up to F, the Collector of Revenue, Carol Langone.
That's L.
Tab L.
L.
Good evening.
Good
Evening.
Before we start, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. The clerk had mentioned the advertising cost for the tax sale. It's dropped tremendously. It used to be an ad that carried the block and lot, the owner, what the costs were going to sale. Now it's just an advertisement stating where the web address is, where the online tax sale you register, and that's how it's being done that way. Now, it's a pilot program, and it was our first year. It was on December 1st. It was a little tricky because it was right before Thanksgiving, so everybody had to be paid the Wednesday before Thanksgiving or Monday morning, which was December 1st. There was a lien on the property. So maybe next year it might be a day or two later, so that I don't run into that holiday and any glitches that I may have with data transferring and whatnot. So later this year, you're going to see a resolution coming through that I would like to continue with the pilot program until it becomes something that the state will allow to go forward. They're just making sure that each municipality is following the tax sale law, and there'll be an application process until this becomes part of the way we do our tax sales. Also, one other thing, Councilman Kramer had mentioned to me earlier that he was interested in a different way, or an additional way to pay the property taxes. And through the Edmunds software, I had mentioned in previous years, it's a program called WIP. It's a Web Inquiry Payment Portal. So rather than, at the present time, you go onto the township website and you go through the online payment process, but we're utilizing CityNet, and that's more on the finance side of how all that works. But this is an additional way to pay, and with the inquiry, it would help my office tremendously if a homeowner could go right onto the Edmunds system and see a lot of data without having to contact us. Hopefully not get as frustrated if they're not getting through fast enough. But other than that, like back to the advertising cost for the tax sale, it was $8,000. Now it's not even $1,000. And we're looking toward trying to get it advertised on our website rather than to even have to utilize the newspaper at all. You know, it's the technology's there. There's no reason but it's got to be approved by the state, yeah.
So, relevant to that, the laws provide a pilot program. They don't provide a complete transition to your utilizing only your township website yet.
No.
Okay. Have you gotten any feedback, when you were talking first about the new way of doing it, the first thing you mentioned, from any of the people in the public, the private people who come in and buy the liens?
Okay.
My concern is just not just saving money, but making sure that we're doing something that.
Right. Well, every line item that was on the tax sale list sold. We took in $2.7 million in premiums, which is additional funds that these bidders will give the township to acquire the lien. So it's really competitive. We can now the whole country is looking at these auction sites. And
It's become more competitive, not less.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to, so,
collectors were concerned that the smaller lien holders would not be as competitive, but they're still able to bid themselves. They're not being outbid, so the range of who is available to purchase these liens, we're not taking it away from them, from who used to come into our actual sale and
So you-
sit in this room and bid against them.
you don't believe it's a system that is kind of opening the door to these large entities around the country to come in and swoop in and create any kind of.
So my response to
Fairness.
that is it's our responsibility to the taxpayers of this town to make this as fair and as open and as available to as many people to make it as competitive as it can be. While I understand that certain people, we'll call them the mom and pop shops, might go out and purchase liens at tax sales, we have a responsibility overall to the entire township, and this is when we have to eat tax liens, they're ours. That's what has happened previously. Now, in previous tax sales, especially since I've been here, this is the first time where every lien sold. And so, in previous ones, we've held the liens on properties because they didn't sell. So I think that in and of itself is kind of a testament to the new process. And I would hope that the state sees fit to make it a permanent and not a pilot.
Okay, thank you.
I did have another question. I'm not sure I heard you entirely. Was it WIT or WIP?
It's WIP,
Could you-
W-I-P-P.
Okay.
It's Web Inquiry Payment Portal.
And it's part of our, Edmunds, what Carol is talking about. Edmunds is our finance software. It's what we use to process our tax bills, it's what we use to process our water bills, and it's also what we use on a daily basis for finance, for budget purposes.
And that's an internal.
It's absolutely, Edmunds is the program that we use, and so this is a function of Edmunds, that what Carol is talking about.
And I guess I thought it was for the public, but that was.
No, it would be for the public. It's a function of our internal software program that would be available to the public.
And it can be used so that you could set up a direct payment, just like
Oh, it's.
I don't pay I don't directly lift a pen to pay my energy tax or my energy bill or my cable bill. It's all direct.
And it's being done through a credit card?
Nope.
How is it being done?
It would be an ACH transaction. The homeowner would sign up, and that we would choose a date, say February 8th. Anybody who is utilizing this way of payment, we would then take the money out of their account.
Oh, it's an ACH
Yeah.
type of thing? Okay.
And it would save, like Councilman Kramer doesn't want to have to go every quarter and then do the transaction. He'll set it up so that I go in.
Right.
Or the system goes in and does the transaction.
I know there have been a lot of inquiries as to how to pay taxes other than a check. And that's a good thing. So is it active? Is it happening?
So
We're not using it.
So a constituent called me about this just this past week, and he's moved from Jackson, New Jersey. And so I called the tax collector down there, and they're doing it. And he felt it was a time savings for his people. It still takes a little bit of time, you want to check it, but I would love to, for personal reasons and for citizens' reasons, I would love to start doing it. For those of us who have paid off our mortgage, and the mortgage company is no longer paying it, would make it a lot easier.
And the reason we're not doing it, I guess I'm confused. We're not doing it.
This has gone through financial oversight in the past, and a decision was made by financial oversight not to pursue it. We can certainly discuss it again, and Councilman Kramer has already sent me an email, and Councilman Kramer doesn't know, I also spoke to the man from Jackson, who called my office last week as well.
Is it going to cost more money for us to do it?
This is something that needs to be discussed in
Right.
financial
Okay.
oversight, and that's
Thank you.
there are other things that need to be taken into consideration. I've also had an opportunity to discuss this matter, again, with our IT director, who was also involved in previous discussions as well.
Okay.
Okay, what page do I start on for my lines of business?
I think, I
just-
think you're done, and unless anyone has any other questions for
No,
Mrs.
just for-
Langone.
Just
Yes.
for information.
Sure.
You're obviously reaching the right lien buyers. What is different than what you were doing in the pilot versus where you were before?
Well, on the day of the tax sale, I would be in this room with all the bidders, and I would
Right.
have to go through each block and lot, and
Right.
the bids start at 18%, and they go to 0, and then the premiums go up. So I could spend 5 minutes on a line item. So what happened, 8:30 Monday morning on the 1st, it was done. It was just transferring files, everything was, it's always computerized, but there was a lot of physical work that I had to do that I no longer have to do. So,
Okay. So you're able to reach more people because of that? Okay.
nationwide. You can bid from anywhere.
Right.
You don't have to be sitting in this room, anywhere in the world, for that matter, really.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it obviously opens it up to a much greater market, makes it much more competitive.
right, and it's all wire transfer, so my office isn't handling the money.
Or all the sales have to be contained within the United States, or do you actually have overseas buyers?
We haven't, they can, anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world
Yeah.
could buy these via
Yeah,
the, okay.
yeah, but it's been the United
It's interesting. Now, separate from that, just getting back real quick, do we take, you can pay online, but you cannot actually pay with a credit card, is that correct?
can.
You, but only certain?
So you can pay online. You
Go
can
ahead.
pay with a credit card online. Can't pay in
This-
person.
Yeah.
So you can play credit card online,
Right.
Yes.
and it's restricted to what credit cards? Someone had inquired, and because I've never done that, did not know the answer.
I don't believe, Visa and MasterCard.
Okay, and what is it? Is it what American Express is just, is there, I
there's
think
a-
there's a higher percentage, but,
There's a fee from American Express that we would have to pay.
but isn't that automatically legally allowed to be passed along to the, the person paying the taxes?
We charge a fee right now of 2.9% of the.
They pay it today.
Right, but I mean, what is excluding?
For other credit cards?
Yes.
That would have, finance would have to answer that for you. I wasn't involved in that portion of.
Because if it's not a net loss to the town, if it's a wash, why wouldn't we expand at least, to the major credit card?
I mean, we could certainly look into that. I mean, I don't have a problem. I believe that there's a fee from the merchant, which is what we are, to American Express to accept American Express cards.
You would be a merchant because
Right.
I accept
And,
everything
and,
but
and you
American.
pay American Express for the right to take their card.
You pay the VIG,
So that's.
So I'm not here to advocate them, I'm just
So,
saying
no, what
if
I'm
it's a
just saying
net,
is,
if
so
it's a
that's
wash,
the
why
reason I
wouldn't we
would
do that?
imagine why the vendor that we currently use to process credit cards doesn't do that. And that it's just because there would be a cost for us, whereas right now, it is no cost to us.
basically what they do is, for me, if the cost was, say, $10 for every $100, I don't pay that $10. That $10 is passed on. So Visa, MasterCard, whoever, there is a fee, and it all depends on whether or not you want to pay the fee. So I don't pay.
I mean, we
the
can
fee.
certainly.
Well, I wouldn't entertain doing it if it was any cost to the town.
No, I don't think anyone's advocating anything at this point, so we could look into it,
All right,
sure.
you can let us know. Okay, thank you.
The only other thing I wanted to point out, it just, and because while no one has mentioned it, I will mention it. There's $1,600 budgeted in the OE budget under office supplies, line 036, where you see previous years, there was none. That's because office supplies are in the manager's budget because we have central purchasing for office supplies. The $1,600 there is for a piece of equipment. If you see under the sub sheet, it's, and it sounds kind of silly, but it's a letter opener, an automated letter opener. Yeah, gold-plated, as Carol just was quick to point out. As you can imagine, we have 28,000 lines in our, for property lines, so that means that there are not quite 28,000 quarterly tax bills received, because some people do pay them in person or pay them through direct or through credit card. But many, many, many of them, along with 18,000 water customers, send their quarterly bills to us in envelopes, which then requires someone to sit there and open. So obviously, this is a tremendous time saver and would also benefit other departments that receive large numbers of letters in the mail. But the tax collector's office is obviously the one who gets the most mail here. So that's what the purpose of that $1,600 is.
And has it shown itself to be?
Well, we haven't bought it yet.
Oh,
It's
you
in the
haven't?
budget
Oh, I'm
to buy.
sorry.
It's in the budget to buy.
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
Get it yesterday.
Yeah. They only get so many of those letter
It's
openers.
surprising, we're just now getting.
We're just
around-
fine. Well, I didn't know
just now
something
getting around to
existed.
something like that.
Found one that will work.
Wow.
That's it. So I didn't even know one existed. Carol found it, and that's why we put it in the budget.
Makes sense.
How many cases of carpal tunnel did you have?
Oh, boy. Exactly. And it seems to hit them all at the same time when those boxes of bills come in. Okay, if no one has anything else for Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we're up to G, Recreation, Alice Osipowitz.
Her budget is pretty straightforward, too. I think we can skip Alice right now.
Oh, it's up top, AF. It's tab A, F like Frank.
No problem.
If you would like to go hand them out, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You saw my email, right?
Yeah, I don't need to ask.
However you want now. No, it's just absorbed.
It's
It's in there.
Subject doesn't need talking.
No, not at all.
I did, thank you.
Okay, tab AF, the OE budget starts on page AF7. Alice?
Well, this year's budget is pretty much presented without any changes in staff or operating expenses. the department really relies heavily on our recreation trust fund, where we're charging activity registration fees that cover the bulk of the cost of the seasonal staff and supplies to operate our recreation programs. So in 2014, we realized approximately $472,000 in trust fund revenue that covered the majority of the cost of our programs, the operation of Williams Park Pool, and we had sufficient funding available to provide program subsidies for income-eligible residents. So we're pretty much in the situation of, with our programs, our philosophy is basically that if we're going to expand our programs, it's pretty much going to be through fee-based trust fund programs or grant-supported activities, unless we really felt that there was a particular prevention-oriented program that we'd like to propose that we couldn't either charge fees for or find a grant to support. I would like to highlight the fact that in 2014, we met one of the operational audit goals of implementing online program registration. I would say I feel that we were relatively successful. We installed the program in March and transitioned from what we had been using in the past. So we were able to start with summer program registration on April 1st. So we did look and found that in a 9-month period, approximately 28% of our program registrations had been completed via the internet. So we're hoping that, over the next couple of years, that people will find it to be advantageous to and more convenient to use the online registration. Not everything is probably going to go through that system. There's certain specific paperwork that sometimes is needed in our office, say for like our pre-K program or Safety Town program, where we need additional medical information and birth certificates for our records for the state. But in essence, what it really does is, in addition to the ease of registration, it gives the resident direct access to all their registration details, immediate confirmation that they're enrolled in a program, and receipts get generated once they are registered that sends them all the details about the program. And then they can have it electronically on their phones, their iPads, when they go to a program, if there was ever a question about, is my child enrolled or not? So we do see significant advantages to that. Looking in 2015, we try to set some goals and objectives, and so every year we're looking at, can we increase or improve programs and try to increase our revenue growth. One of the other things that we've talked about and we've been doing some research on, and we really want to look into a sponsorship program to help support some of our programs and provide some additional subsidies for income eligible residents that can't necessarily afford some of our recreation programs. We're going to continue to promote the online registration. We also want to look at developing an online feedback survey. I believe through IT, there is something available through the website. So we looking at that as an option. If that's not working, maybe something through SurveyMonkey. But I think we certainly like to get the feedback on our programs, and with technology, want to take advantage of that convenience. We're always looking at our portion of the website, the recreation webpage, and how we can make it get more of our information out about our programs and services, make it user-friendly, and use it as a marketing tool for our programs. We are going through some changes with our prevention programs by some of the guidelines that the state has imposed. So we're looking at making it through those transitions and enhancements in programs, and working with engineering, public works on improvements in our parks and facilities. So I don't know if you have any specific questions about the budget. I know from line item to line item, there's some minor changes, but the bottom line has stayed the same.
I don't know if the question is about this particular budget, but I was with you or met with you after you had come back from your meeting in Summit. where you met with the recreation director, who was raising considerable amount of money for sponsorship programs, and the question I have is, can you do that with your current staff? Because the money is obviously there, she's raising it, but they have full-time people, don't they, dedicated to this?
They have one person in their department that's doing all the marketing for actually their department in the town as a whole, and then they have another person. I don't know if the individual was an intern or a seasonal part-time person that was doing a lot of the contacts for the sponsorship. I think we need to look at what's involved with the plan and what the steps and stages or levels of it would be, and work into it, because I think they've developed it over years. So they are quite successful, but it didn't happen overnight.
And I understand that nothing happens overnight, but you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And I don't know that your staff by itself can do this program. The money is, able to be solicited by other communities. I would imagine we would be able to do it here also. And I'm just wondering whether you have a plan to introduce that into your department, either through someone doing a part-time on your staff, or perhaps bringing in someone part-time, testing the water, and then moving forward with it.
Again, it's something, that we've thought about, we've talked about it for years, so there has been issues and discussions about really getting into it, and I really haven't talked extensively to Bob about it, but I think we need first the opportunity to spend some time developing a recommendation for it, and what we'd want to raise the funds for, and what it would involve, before I can say, oh, we need additional staff people to do it.
So is that a goal for what period of time are you looking at that? Next year? This year?
Or within the course of this year, to come up with some type of a recommendation for how we might like to proceed with it.
Is this something that Tiffany could help with?
Certainly something that Tiffany could help with, and it's certainly something that would need to go
scope
through
it out.
administration. too.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile, something to pursue, because obviously this Summit has been doing it for years, and we're not going to dive in with the same number, but you got to start somewhere. And I think we need to look at it.
It sounds like we don't have a legal restriction, which is
No.
good.
Right.
Yeah.
We thought we did, but we
Yeah,
don't.
so that's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
Certainly something she, as a special projects manager, could take a look at.
Yeah, that's a
and
good
assist
idea.
with.
Oh, well, actually, Tiffany went with several of my staff.
She was
so
already
we were
involved.
working
Okay.
together
Right.
on that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we have a plan.
Yeah, well, we started by going to Summit, and now we need to,
Okay. I
mean, we
understand.
really have a nice resource there with Summit. And there are some other towns throughout the state that do it in different ways, but, I guess we need to determine what it is that we want to do programmatically, and then look at how we pursue that.
Alice, just wondered
Sure.
what the Bollywood program is.
It's a type of Zumba.
Oh, okay. It wasn't
Zumba
karaoke
program?
singing or something
Yeah,
like that.
no, it's a fitness program. So it should probably say Bollywood Zumba.
Why, are you interested?
Yeah, I could use it.
Are there any other questions?
Actually, Alice asked me, that she does have two capital requests that we should probably just discuss now. Capital will be discussed on Thursday as an entire capital project plan. But in particular, there's one large capital request that you ordinarily don't see come out of the Recreation Department, but I'll let Alice explain it, and then the Public Works manager and Director of Public Works can explain the nuts and bolts, no pun intended, of it on Thursday. But
One of the programs that the council has supported over the years is the senior transportation program, which provides door-to-door pickup for senior citizens that want to come to the community senior center. And I guess we've been doing that probably since about 1998 or so, or 2000, when we moved to the community center. And essentially, we've had an interlocal services agreement with Somerset County Transportation Department, where they provide, they had, initially and originally, they provided a vehicle, a driver, and the coordination of the pickups and the routes. And we provided, and we paid an annual fee for it. Probably about maybe 5 years ago, the county had indicated that the town would either need to pay an additional fee towards a vehicle, or the town could purchase its own vehicle and lease it to the county. So the town did purchase, I think it's a 22 and 2 passenger vehicle, to try to pick up a little bit, additional, more residents than we were doing, say, with a, I guess it was it might have been a 16 and 2 for an 18 passenger vehicle, because the demand had been increasing. I think we've kind of stabilized at this point, but where we're at right now is that the county called me back in November, December, to say that we had to start thinking about replacing the bus that we had, because of the wear and tear and the repairs that it was experiencing. I guess it had a lot of leaks and
It's actually rusting out.
Rusting out.
The vehicle is rotting away underneath and can't be repaired. It was originally inspected by the county mechanics in Bridgewater, and they reported back to us that they felt that it was beyond repair. We sent our own, and they reported back the same thing. The bus has now reached a point where it needs to be replaced. Otherwise, we'll have to incur additional costs for leasing a vehicle. And at this point, we've looked at the cost of leasing versus purchasing, and we should purchase the vehicle. That's why it was included in in the capital plan for this year. The actual cost of the interlocal agreement with the county is $63,000 a year, which, to be perfectly honest with you, is a bargain, and given the fact that it's basically a full-time position that we're paying $63,000 for, so we really can't complain about that part of it. The vehicle is going to be one of those things that periodically we'll have to replace. We've hit that point now. So.
Can we use this for other purposes? Other than senior transportation?
The county maintains the
Just
vehicle.
asking.
Yeah, no, the county maintains the vehicle, so they have it in basically in their possession. I mean, it's ours. If there was something on a one-time basis, but that we need a driver, and so you need someone with the proper endorsements for a passenger commercial driver's license, and that's something that we don't have currently, which is one of the reasons why we contract out to the county to provide the driver.
We could shove it under the East Millstone Bridge and keep it from falling.
We could do that. The canal's not quite that deep there. So that's one. And then also tables and chairs.
Tables and chairs. Well, the building was built in 1998, and the chairs that we have, I think they've lasted about, I guess, 15 years now. But we've been doing repairs on them periodically. Unfortunately, the screws into the seats have, I guess, they're constantly being broken down and set up, and it's taken a lot of wear and tear, so they're stripped. Once Public Works replaces the bolts once in them, or the screws once in them, there's like really no going back a second time if it gets stripped.
The chairs have served us well. The tables have served us well. They've been there since the building was built in 1998. And it's time to replace them. Like Alice said, the chairs and tables in that particular building are set up and torn down almost on a daily basis. So based on that, it's just wear and tear.
You have to replace all of them?
It's time to replace with been purchased new chairs and tables. It's not a great expense if I'm going to go into the capital.
If you ever went in the room, you know that it's time to replace them.
Exactly. I would say sit on one of those chairs, and I have.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, just page before.
Here, I have.
What's the cost?
Tables and chairs is $48,000 for tables and chairs it's $30,000 for 350 chairs and $18,000 for the tables and the dollies that move them.
I mean, I looked at, could I buy piecemeal it, a couple a year, but I started looking at them and, they just, we have fitness programs in there 4 nights a week and then activities on the weekends. And if you break those tables down at night, they're going back up in the morning. So they just ultimately start to chip and wear and they
fall
start to
apart.
put like duct tape on them or, you just end up having pinch points. And
And then the chairs stack, so you have to have the same kind of chairs so that they can stack them up.
We don't want the seniors falling out.
Well,
of the
that's what
chairs.
Kathy just said here. The last thing we want to do is set up chairs that then the seniors are falling on the floor because the chair
yeah, it's a little
breaks.
scary.
It's a liability issue.
It's also, they're 17 years old.
Yeah.
Are the doors working properly, Alice, at this point?
No complaints lately. I haven't heard a word.
All
so,
right.
yeah.
That's a good thing.
Everything else is good.
I have one quick question on the transportation.
Sure.
How many people actually take advantage of it? Like, is that bus full when it gets there?
It's
every time, or
full,
is it-
and they really,
actually-
the county doesn't necessarily keep a waiting list, but we know that there are people that are not being served because they're complaining because they either can't get on, or we're hearing that it's too long of a route and a drive for them to be on. So we do get calls periodically.
But it's not underutilized.
It's not underutilized, not at all.
Never the
No,
case.
that's always full.
Right.
It was the reason why we went from a 16 plus 2, what Alice is talking about, 16 passengers plus 2 handicapped.
To try to make up that difference,
To
so we
make
could
it, so that's why it's
accommodate
18
more.
total. Now it's 22 plus 2 for a total of 24. The bus was increased in size, and it's still on most runs.
And I think
full.
it's really helping to get the people who otherwise would be, in their homes with,
We need the bus.
Yeah.
We-
So-
No dispute about
And
that.
you get a lot of the seniors as they get older, they're
Right.
giving up
They
their
need that
cars,
bus,
and
yes.
it's a way to keep them active and involved.
Now, imagine that need will probably only increase over the
Well,
years with the
and actually,
population.
we have
increased.
discussed that here in previous years, and we've discussed it in subcommittees of council. At some point, I think that there will be a need for our senior transportation to expand beyond transportation just from the home to our senior center, but also what you see. And it is a significant expense, and I've done a little bit of research into towns that have age-restricted communities just here in New Jersey. As those communities age, the population of residents ages, and the need for more transportation is one that becomes
Increases.
readily apparent. And in fact, the nearest one to here is Monroe, and they do have a full-time staff of bus drivers and buses solely for the transportation purposes of their age-restricted communities, really. So it will be something that we'll look to in the
North
future.
Brunswick actually always had some good services on elderly people as well. Down the road, you'll explore it, I'm sure. But that's great,
Question.
new bus.
The high steppers, they keep asking for transportation to their events.
Well, that's,
Is there any way we can include something for them, or is that part of this bus? Or
We do still have our vehicles, and we do provide support. We have a significant turnover with the seasonal drivers that we hire because people are looking for full-time work. So we're constantly advertising for CDL drivers with the passenger endorsements. So as long
again,
as we
it's
have drivers, we can transport them.
To transport people in those vehicles that we have requires a commercial driver's license with a passenger endorsement. And like Alice said, and we've experienced this, and it is difficult. That's why we contracted out the senior transportation to the county, who has a whole staff of bus drivers to provide that. That's been an ongoing problem with us and Alice, and I have talked about this for many years, the fact that it's a challenge to hire part-time employees, because it's not just a part-time employee. It's a part-time employee who's available on short notice and may not work for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then we need them for 2 or 3 days in a row. And this is something that just, it's not easy for some. When people have that endorsement, they want to work. They go to work for a bus company. They go to work, and I can even say this, over the last several years, even a county who hires in full-time capacity bus drivers has been a frequent advertiser of vacancies for that position. They're difficult to fill. That's really the biggest problem that we have.
Yeah, just a suggestion, you may want to talk to some of the bus transportation companies, and if their drivers want to pick up extra work, they may want to do that.
We can certainly do that.
Because at one time, Raj Auto was parking a lot of school buses, small-sized school buses there, and there were drivers available to that bus company, so that was something to consider. Otherwise, just if we can arrange with the county alone for the high steppers once in a while, then that would be helpful for them too.
We can check with them, but I think for the most part, their drivers are in routes that are scheduled throughout the day and the week, but it doesn't hurt to always keep an open line of communication with private and county programs.
All right, thank you.
If there are no other questions, we move on to fire prevention. John House.
I just want to thank the council, mayor and council, for always supporting the recreation
Thank you,
department.
Alice.
It's tab Y.
I'm a product of the Franklin Township Recreation Program, so I'm a big proponent of it.
We have a wonderful recreation program in Franklin.
Thank you.
I didn't hear him say anything. What tab?
Y.
Why?
And you'll see that there is a huge decrease in John House's OE budget for this year, $44.
All right, John.
Huge decrease.
$44.
$44. Yeah, right here, 44. Overall, it's $44.
Okay. I emailed out today.
So John's annual report is part of the packet that was handed out today. John also emailed it to all your email addresses today as well.
I just didn't finish it till late this afternoon. That's why you didn't get it sooner, and I apologize. These 2 pages that I just handed you are the highlights. They're pages 3 and 4 of the report. And just wanted to just quickly touch on a couple of things. One, first, our revenue, we increased to, again, the highest to date. It's about a 5% increase over last year's. We increased every single category of revenue except for our state life hazard use fees, and those actually went down 11%. We found out doing our annual certification to the state, which Bob and I do in January, that we had a number of businesses that the state had placed in inactive. Unfortunately, when they did that, they didn't get a bill, so that's why we saw that decrease. We've already started addressing this and hope to have it completely addressed in the next month or two. So though businesses will be getting their bills for 2015, so we should see an increase in 2015's money both because we're correcting that problem and also our businesses are continuing to grow. So as more grow, our fees increase.
Do we get the back money?
That's going to be up to the state whether they're going to bill them for the back money. That's out of our control.
Okay.
I'm going to fight for it. but-
John and I have had a discussion about this, and John is going to pursue that with the state and make it known that we feel that they should. The decision ultimately is up to the state, and because it has a direct impact on our revenue based on licensing fees, we feel that they should.
Commercial inspections, we also had the highest number of commercial inspections done in a single year in 2014. That trend also happened with our housing inspections. As council should remember, last year I told you we reorganized the department. We assigned a full-time inspector to that. He did a terrific job this year. We actually almost doubled the number of inspections we did in 2013. Now, 2013 was a drop, which we were corrected, so we're not doubling everything, but we're right now doing our housing inspections right where we should be every year now. And there was a slight increase in the smoke detector carbon monoxide inspections, showing that the housing market overall is still continuing to improve.
If you look at the bottom chart on page 4, that reflects the smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector inspections. That is a direct reflection on home sales.
Right.
Secondary home sales, because obviously every single home that sells now in Franklin is required to have that. So that does show that it's still trending upward, which is good. Obviously, we'd like to get back to those 2005 numbers, where we were looking at 1,400.
No, we would not.
Well, if you have many, many homes on the market, Councilman, I would beg to differ. We would like to see them selling, which means if the market is strong, houses sell.
The market was strong because there were subprime loans being.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I would said we would like to get back to that number. I would not say that we would like to get back to the price that people were paying for those homes and how they were being financed.
Can I just ask a quick question, and it's not about the budget, and I'm sorry about that, but when you went into inspecting houses, I think we did, but I'm kind of fuzzy, on those converted 2- and 3-family houses from a single-family house?
Do we inspect them?
Do we inspect them?
Right.
Well,
Converted, I mean, I got a
If it's a-
single-family house, and tomorrow it's now a 3-family house.
Well, first they'd have to do it legally through zoning and construction.
But they didn't do it legally, I just got to,
Okay, if it's done illegally, that's a complaint inspection.
okay.
And
Yeah.
that
But even that.
involves fire prevention, zoning, health, construction. When we get one of those complaints, usually whichever department gets it will
Then
contact
everybody
all the
else.
rest, and they go out kind of as a team and address all the issues that we find.
Okay.
But if it's legally a 3-family or above, we inspect that every single year. That's what I'm referring to in our reports as housing inspections.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. On my budget, yeah, there was a slight decrease in the amount. Mainly it was a shift for the batteries, but I want to defend myself because our fire prevention, along with the police department, we buy a large quantity, and we do use the same company warehouse that the police department uses. So I didn't want the council to think we weren't spending our money wisely. So we'll be a majority shareholder in Joyce Miller's store there.
It's why we, have them so close together in the building, right across the hall from each other, so John can go get his batteries.
I didn't.
John's,
know-
I mean, if you look at John's OE budget, it's a relatively small budget. There's a significant amount of money that is spent over and above this. Much of the funding for our fire prevention office comes from several different sources. One source of funding is from our local fire districts. And another source of funding is the penalty trust, when violations are assessed on property owners for violations of the fire code. That money goes into a trust specifically set aside to fund the functions of our fire prevention office. So things that are high in cost, the clothing that they wear when they're, their turnout gear, the boots, the helmets, things of that nature are funded out of that trust, so that it's not at taxpayer expense, it's at the expense of those who have violated the fire code.
Any questions?
Are there any questions?
John also has a capital budget, John, so I'll just, again, that'll be discussed again on Thursday, but I'll just have John talk about it now.
Yeah, I just wanted to pitch, last year we had requested 2 vehicles, we cut it to 1, and basically I'm asking for that second vehicle this year. It's replacing a 2003 Chevy Blazer that has well over 100,000 miles. They're beyond their service life. They're constantly breaking down, and we're losing downtime, so that's why we're asking for it.
And the Public Works Department has confirmed that these are vehicles that are due for replacement. Additionally, we have to remember that our fire prevention officers also respond as first responders when they're at work to fire calls on a daily basis, so they really need to have vehicles that are worthy of the first responder role, and that's the case of this particular vehicle. John is absolutely right. In last year's initial budget request, he did request 2 vehicles, and was gracious enough to say, I can try to make do with this vehicle 1 more year if it makes things better, and we took him up on that, and this is the second vehicle of the 2 vehicle requests that he made last year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are up to the final of the evening. Construction, Vince Lupo.
It's tab R.
Well, before we get started, I want to say I buy batteries wholesale too.
It's the only thing he buys wholesale.
That's it.
And now he won't be buying them at all. Okay. Tab R, with, like I said, is construction code. Tab R shows a slight decrease, right? Is that where we're at here? Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's flat. 351.6 and 14, 351.6 and 15. There was, okay, that's right. Okay, Vince.
Mine's different than yours. I was just showing a different.
Yeah, I made the adjustment.
Oh, you took $100 away from me. That's okay.
I did. I took $100
Now I'm going to lose
from you.
sleep tonight.
We figured at $351,600, you could afford to eat that $100 somewhere,
Thank
Vince.
you. We'll do our best. Based on the fact that at least $100,000 of our budget is contingency monies. We keep that just in case we have to go into court and/or tear down a building and/or restore buildings. So, and we haven't used them in the past 2 years, so the contingency just keeps rolling over on that. Other than that, our budget has stayed flat. We don't have any issues with what we've got. I don't know if anybody has any questions based on what we have in here, but I'd be happy to answer. I do want to remind everybody we are self-funded. We we did show a $600,000 increase in revenues this year. And we exhibited a $400,000 surplus this year. So, an additional surplus. Our actual total surplus this year was $1.3 million.
That's great.
So,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Unless it's a mistake like we saw before, you have $180,000 budgeted.
Well, that's not a mistake, Mr. Mayor.
Not a mistake.
Telecommunications?
That's correct. In that line, and it was budgeted, as you see also in 2014,
Yeah.
is monies that are going toward document imaging for all of the construction code files that, as you can imagine, are voluminous based on the number of permit applications annually received is about, what, 4,000, Vince?
Yes, Mayor, that's an ongoing expense. We hope every year we have a surplus, that we'd be able to utilize some of this money to forward that.
Okay, great. It just seemed that there was actually 4,000 spent last year, but
We had a
requested
problem last
180.
year.
That's correct, and that's why there's a carryover
why it's
to
held over,
180 this
yes.
year.
Okay.
But aren't you requiring digital copies now from everybody?
Engineering does, we
not
don't.
construction.
Currently, we don't, no.
Okay.
Engineering, planning board, zoning board, that was the ordinance that you just recently adopted regarding electronic filings, and engineering does. Construction does not at this particular point. And understand that the bigger problem here is most of what gets submitted to the construction code office is the big plans. I mean, it's,
We actually are currently looking at some programs that will do that. The biggest single problem we currently have is the fact that the professional organizations, the plumbers associations, the electrician associations, and the architects are giving us a rough time with digital signatures. So even though we want to accept these things electronically, we currently can't accept them electronically, and we're working with the state to see if we can get that worked out.
That'll save a lot of storage space as well.
A lot of storage space, and quite frankly, we went to the point where we were so ready for it, we actually had brought in a big screen
Scanner.
monitor.
Yeah,
A big screen monitor, and we had ready the equipment to go into this,
right.
and it just didn't happen because of the holdup with the digital signatures. We're still waiting
The
on it.
problem is, this is not one that's up to you as the elected body here in Franklin.
Right.
This is the construction, the state
Uniform
construction,
construction
uniform
code.
construction code. So it's the state, exactly. It's not something that we can supersede the state in this particular circumstance. That's why,
But we're ready if they allow us to.
So how are we doing on your document imaging program?
We had
What kind of
some,
progress are you making there?
we had some setbacks on it, quite frankly. We had a company that was doing the work for us, and unbeknownst to me, when they were digitizing this, they never did backups on it. So-
Really?
Yeah, so the problem we're having now is we can't destroy any of our records.
so they're in the process.
So we're in the
this
process
is-
of doing it. That's why I said we had this little hiccup. And that's why no money was spent last year, because we want to get back on track before we start spending again.
So
How did that happen?
I don't know. I can't
This
answer
is
that.
their business, though.
This is their
What they do for a living.
What?
Wait,
The-
I
the-
don't understand. They weren't doing
No.
backups? Did it?
No, there's a backup to the digital files. What wasn't done was it wasn't microfilmed, and according to the state, in order for us to destroy the records that he has, not only do they have to be digitized, they also have to be microfilmed.
Microfilmed.
And we haven't had the microfilmed yet. And that microfilming is more expensive than scanning. So that's where our hiccup is, and now we have to go back and microfilm all those records before we can get permission to destroy them.
I would think there is a method of microfilming from the digital copy.
There is.
That could be
There is.
automated. So they
There
don't have
is.
to take the, okay, good.
There is. We're working on it, and we got two companies that we're getting proposals from to do this.
We just held up because we realized we had that mistake and we didn't want to spend that money last year.
Well, that's a
So we
good
went out
thing.
for bids,
Yeah.
and with the bids we got on one particular company, they, again, didn't include, what happened actually was when they came into us to talk to us about doing their scanning, they didn't do the back scan. They own the program, but they weren't doing the back scan, and when they came to me and said to me, we're going to send you to someone else. I said, does he have a state contract? And they said, no, and I stopped the whole process because I wasn't about to approve any expenditures that weren't under state contract. So
for
we
you.
stopped it, and that's why we're sitting here with this money this year.
Okay, thank you.
I have one tiny question. Telephone charges reimbursed to police budget for department cell phone usage?
Yes, sir.
Yes. The police department administers the cell phone contract, well, we have a business contract with Verizon.
Right.
All of our cellular service, regardless of what department, is through that one account, and the police department administers it. So if you have cell phones in your department, you budget that amount of money to cover the cost of your cell phones, and then that money gets transferred to the police department to cover that portion of the bill.
And if you look at the summary page,
Why don't you give her the mic, please?
if you look at the summary page, UCC has been paying it, but it was coming out of the same line, 077, as the document and imaging. So for this year, we're showing it on line 76, the telephone charges. But if you look in 2013, it was $6,000 budgeted, and in 2014, it was $4,000 actually paid. The 4,000 was not 4,000 out of the 180 for the document imaging. That was the phone cost, and we've just split it to have a better detail between the two lines.
That's the next page, right? And I just wrote on the next page, why was this not used in 2014? So, yeah.
There's the answer.
It was.
If nobody else has any questions?
I have a question, really not about the budget, but since you're here. I had a call tonight from a gentleman who lives in Princeton Ridings, and the main burden of his complaint was that he was getting a permit for a deck, and he was told to bring in a check for $849. And that seemed a bit excessive to me, and it certainly did to him. Is that really what the fee would be for
I'm not
putting up
familiar with that
decks?
particular story. I would have to check it. I don't know what the fees were for exactly. $849 seems excessive to me, especially when we deal with a cost of $19 per thousand. So either he's building a $200,000 deck, or somebody made a mistake.
I just figure it sounds like
It sounds like a lot to
misread
me.
the decimal point
It sounds like a lot to
somewhere.
me, but Councilman, quite frankly, I'd have to look it up and see
I'll
what it is.
I'll send you
Perfect.
name and address.
I've heard every story. and,
Tomorrow.
Normally,
Yeah,
when
it
you
was-
finally get the real story, there's always the one that you hear and the truth.
Yeah.
I
He
would
also,
prefer to wait.
he said that he asked the lady who was supposed to receive the check for, was there an explanation for how much this was? And she said, I don't have time to answer that question. You contact Joe Willis. And he tried to contact Joe
If he
Willis.
contacts
Joe
me-
Willis never contacted
If he contacts me,
back.
I will check it for him. And that's the best way to do that. I can tell you that we run approximately $19 per thousand. So
Yeah,
it depends on
well,
what it's going to cost him to do that
exactly,
deck.
yeah.
Yeah. And I can also add that we are actually lower than state fees. We're talking about it right now, about bringing ourselves back up into the same area that they are, but we actually are below state fees right now, the state fee schedule.
No.
The state fee is about $4 higher than ours, per thousand, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Excuse me? We have to justify, under our laws, we're only allowed to charge what's necessary to do our job. And that's kind of where we're at right now, so we don't have a problem with it. But in answer to a question you brought up earlier, and that was, you were talking about the illegal apartments, I just would like to mention one thing before I run out tonight, and that is, I asked 5 years ago for council to approve the exception to Article 4, which is certificates of continued building compliance, to allow us to inspect residences upon the sale and/or rental when somebody moves out. To date, council has not responded or has not acted on this for us. but I can tell you that we have a huge number of illegal 1, 2, 3, and 4 family dwellings in this house, in this town.
So
And it's going to get,
let me.
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I thought that went to the fire department.
No, sir, that's,
But I went to, I got confused on that. Go ahead.
So what Vince is talking about is currently, there's a portion of our ordinance that is, for lack of a better term, suspended from enforcement by council. And it's part of the property maintenance code. And it deals with home inspections upon resale for violations of the construction code for work that was done without permits. That portion of our ordinance is not enforced. It is enforced for commercial properties. It's not enforced for residential properties. Council has not enacted that portion of the ordinance for enforcement.
So you're saying that, and I think I do remember that coming up the last time, and, okay, yeah.
I believe this is my third budget, and I believe this is the third time
I ask every year, sooner or later,
has
I'll
raised that.
It's starting to come back to me.
Every year.
But let me ask you a question.
We got a lot of
Plain and simple.
We got a lot of
pushback from the
The
realtors,
realtors.
Can we just go ahead
especially
and
in the
say
depressed economy.
that,
This is certainly a topic of conversation that we can have at the various subcommittees that would be affected by this. However, I understand there's pushback from realtors, and the response, and the response that should come from your construction official, whose sole interest should be in the safety of homes, is that's his position, and I understand that. This is a discussion not for here in a budget hearing.
Right.
But a discussion
And-
for council as perhaps a council discussion item, or what have you.
Go through land
Or
use.
it
I was
certainly
merely
goes-
answering a question, that's all.
Right, no, I'm just,
You
you
brought it
know,
up.
the
That's all.
point is, there's pros and cons to many different aspects of this, and
Really doesn't
but
solve the problem.
one quick question. Could you put that on the docket for a council, no, excuse me, Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor, because that's the way it should go. I apologize for that. Because every year you keep asking, every year I keep coming back with it, and every year it becomes a realtor and expense and all that kind of good stuff, and it never goes anywhere.
I promise if it doesn't this year, I won't bring it up next year.
What is
No. I hear the same argument, and what I'm saying is, I have a lot of that in the Fourth Ward. So when you walk in and there's a fire, and you know that door shouldn't be there, and that door is there, there's a problem. And I just, done deal.
I made sure I brought it up again this time because of the problem we had with the Edgewater fire.
Right,
And
there you
I've
go.
been fielding phone calls
Yeah.
crazy from half the town.
Okay.
certainly could be public safety and land use can certainly discuss this again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, is this for rentals also?
This is we said we weren't supposed to be talking about it, but what it amounts to is it's any change of tenancy. Any change of tenancy.
So
If it's a resale
Tenant.
or a change of tenancy.
Okay. so
We're
that-
looking
On-
to stop the illegal.
On rentals,
Uses, that's what we're looking for.
on rental properties that turn over, apartment complexes, that's not what, obviously, this
That's the issue.
is related to.
This is
And in
single-family
fact,
type.
Right.
there is a CO inspection done on apartments, that by the health department.
Right.
So that's
Takes
already
care of
done. This is for, really, I mean, what Vince is talking about is single-family homes. Right? That's what we're talking about here. Single-family homes.
But I thought you're right. I thought we had discussed this as far as looking into those houses that were illegally 2- and 3-family.
Well, those get investigated upon complaint, and that's what John had talked
Right,
about
right,
earlier.
right.
Those are absolutely, that's a clear violation of the ordinance, and we're not talking about that.
Right.
If it comes to light that we believe that there is a house that's been illegally divided into a multifamily from a single family, then that's a clear violation of probably several of our ordinances, and like John said, it's a multidiscipline investigation. Construction,
prevention sends
zoning,
it to
fire
us.
prevention, health, and oftentimes police, too. So yes, those are investigated. As soon as we become aware that they're in existence, that group of investigators goes out and issues summonses or violations where it's appropriate. That's kind of apples and oranges from the other thing that we're talking about.
So your email is vincent.lupo@township?
Vincent.lupo at,
Yeah.
that's it. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Always last but not least.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Everyone else can stay.
Good night.